Hello and welcome to the I3 lecture series hosted by the Masters in Digital Photography program at the School of Visual Arts. We are thrilled to welcome Jill Freedman, an icon of street and documentary photography, as tonight's guest speaker. Throughout her very prolific career, Jill has published 7 monographs: Old News, Resurrection City, Circus Days, Firehouse, Street Cops, A Time That Was, Irish Moments, Jill's Dogs, and Ireland Ever. Her photographs have been exhibited and published worldwide. Her work is included in the permanent collections of the Museum of Modern Art, the International Center of Photography, George Eastman House, the Smithsonian American Art Museum, the New York Public Library, the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, the Bibliothèque Nationale Paris. I'd like to share with you a short excerpt from Jill's essay, The Joy of Photography, which I find particularly beautiful. It says, I am self-taught. I got a copywriting job to support myself, and I started learning, devouring books and looking at good work, walking a lot and shooting. Those early years were fired with an intensity and passion I had never felt before. I was obsessed and driven. I thought about photography all of the time. And my pictures, if no one else had liked them, it wouldn't have mattered. I loved them. Sometimes I'd look at them and think, what if I wake up one day and it's gone? What if it goes away like it came? Jill, we are so honored to have you here tonight. Welcome to our lecture series.
Thank you so much. Do I just talk like this, or am I supposed to use this mic too? Or?
Yes, I'll get it closer to you. Get it closer.
Okay. Hello. Thanks for coming. We had to turn a lot of people away. You're very lucky you're here. I'm not kidding, man. And they want their money back. They have some ball, I would say. Okay, I have a whole lot of pictures. And I wanted to start off with something. This was put together, and I found it, to my surprise, on the internet by Getty Images, which has some of my pictures in their premium archive for editorial use only. No fur and no tobacco. Weed is okay, but they put this together, and well, you can look at it one by one, because the point is I'm supposed to talk a lot, but I think this would be terrific just as like a slideshow. So I thought that I would start off with that and then show you 2 things I'm working on currently now that I want to be in my next book. One is Manhattan, which was New York from 66 to 90, when there were neighborhoods and not just real estate, when it was New York. And Patriot Acts, which is something else. So anyway, let's get started. This is like an overview of different things I've done. And I'll just call out like from the different stories. But mainly I think the pictures will speak for themselves. And every woman here knows this one, old kissy face. Yes, we love that sound, don't we? So this is the Poor People's Campaign in Washington in 1968, when they murdered Dr. Martin Luther King. Exactly a year to the day he made a speech at Riverside Church, where he stopped talking about black and white and talked about rich and poor and how wrong Vietnam was. So they got rid of him, and this was his last project, his dream of the Poor People's Campaign, right next to the reflecting pond between Lincoln and the Washington Memorial. A week to march down. We lived in plywood shacks for 6 weeks. Brenda, my favorite kid, and went out and demonstrated every day. And it was beautiful. They were great, great people. And then my second book, Firehouse. I used to drink at the Lion's Head, a pub in the village, and every now and then a fireman would come in, and I read his book and thought that would be a great book on firemen, whatever, you know, that would be a great story. So I got permission to ride, and I just, women weren't allowed in the firehouse after 10 o'clock at night, so I just stayed in the back seat of the chief's car on the apparatus floor between the engine and the truck, because before that, I would come and go from the village up to the South Bronx, Harlem. They said, you should have been here 5 minutes before, 10 minutes after. So I thought, screw it, I just moved into the car, and I was there. So I shot this in Harlem and the South Bronx when the Bronx was burning. So this was published in 77, shot in 75 and 6. Great, great, great men. And they cooked. Oh, when you have an Italian in the kitchen. And they didn't let me do a thing in the kitchen. It was wonderful. Just like my boyfriends, I trained them early. Burn things. Oh, I don't know what went wrong. I followed it. So these are my guys, firefighters. Most dangerous profession. There was women allowed on the job, and I photographed this for New York Magazine. They used that as a cover. And then, when I was finished, I would hear sirens and think, what am I missing? People say, do cops next? And I said, get out of here, I hate cops. You know, Vietnam, and I was very much against the war, which is why I started shooting. Then I thought, wait, that's not intelligent. You don't know any cops. You know, if you knew them and hated them, fair enough. And I thought, man, that'd be a good story. I've never seen a book about the good cops. You only hear about the bums, you know, Prince of the City, Serpico. I thought that'd be a great story also about a city and how it doesn't work for most of its citizens. And so I had 2 precincts, 9th Precinct, which was Alphabet City, pre-gentrified, and Midtown South, which was 42nd Street, pre-Disneyfied. And I thought, whatever is real life, this is as close as you get. Bar fight, 4 o'clock, Avenue C, want to get in the picture? Jersey driver, obviously. Job's always on the 5th floor. He froze to death in the hallway of a tenement. He says, see this garbage, these crazy people out here? I love this beautiful, it's New York, I love this beautiful shit. This is Midtown. This guy stabbed in the side like a turkey, which he was. This guy was mugged for his cheap watch. This guy was so crazy they just had to... This kid standing on a corner, just standing there, got stabbed in the leg. Little Furts on 42nd. The Apple. George liked to sit in garbage cans. We look for these people, we want anyone to hurt them, the guy said. That's the Hells Angels insignia. And of course, there's always funerals. This book came out at the end of '81 when there were real cops. Most of them never used their gun the whole 20 years. A cop that has to is an unlucky cop, one of the guys said. Now I don't know what happened to the job. Every other day. I love a cop, she said, they go all night. This is always in my mind the cover of my New York book. New York. Manhattan. Work in progress. But these are pictures Getty picked. They're from all over. So that was Roseland. It was a great town. Hellfire Club. Put it away. The one on the left. Wow, I love seeing them big. The true spirit of Christmas. Love kills. Remember when guns killed? This was before AIDS. Miami Beach. The Village. Bleecker Street. Oh, my old neighborhood. My corner. Cronies. Cheap housing. Look over your shoulder, girls. This is poignant, save our sleeves. Aw. That's what it's about. Win the game at Shea Stadium, win the war in Vietnam. Church ladies, burn yourself, not our flag. Nice, nice. Look at these old Tammany characters. Well, Veterans Day. Oh yes, the beauty of graffiti. I understand it's an art now. New York, where even the vegetables are freaked out. Crazy salad. The gentry posting past gentrification. Paris, that was. Paris also. London. Christ love men only. You can see why. Hyde Park, Speaker's Corner. North of England. 12 pulchritudinous pachyderms. Circus days, I travel with the Beatty Cole Circus. It's riding down the big top. That's me. That's the real me. That's closing time. That's happening where nothing happened. 20 minutes they tried. Nothing. Nothing, I'm telling you. All right. Okay, that was Madrid. This is Ireland. Ireland. I chose Ireland as my old country. And I love the traditional music, so whenever I had to go, I'd go over and shoot, and then I have to come back when I ran out. Great Johnny Doherty, great fiddler. Yes, and that's the glamour of that job. I think that's the end of that. Okay, my next book, Manhattan. I haven't even put it together. Well, I haven't gone to a publisher or anything, but now I've got a lot of pictures. It's going to be some edit, boy. So, this is just a taste. This was at Studio 54. And I look at this and I think, remember when I was a kid, they'd have these love songs where they'd sing in each other's face? And it used to really worry me. How did they do that? Do they have peppermint? I mean, you know? And now you look at people in the street, they're always getting in each other's face. Don't get in my face. Literally. It makes you wish, like when you see a jogger, I wish I was a dog, I could bite him in the ass. Same thing, like if, just like with your, just get out of my face. But this, how do they do that? Anyway, you can tell they're sincere. Washington Square Park, and these girls have the right idea. Keep those knees crossed. This was at the Hookers Ball. So charming. It's lovely to see men being charming. We like that. Open the friggin' door. Tompkins Square Park. This is when New York, this was small town Manhattan. Little, you know, they were all neighborhoods, and real people could afford it. And I want the book, you know, where you used to be able to say, you look at a picture and say, only in New York. And you can't now, except that I'm sticking to that, the way. These are sisters, of course. This was in '68, a haircut, $1.25. And I think it was Little Italy, Tony. And look at the telephone, the barber pole. Oh, then you think, hey, wait, that's nearly 50. No. How could it be 50 years? I'm 12. And here's a man that really likes women. Isn't that something? Tits, anyway. And Central Park, of course, bird watchers. Brooklyn Bridge. That kid in the window, it reminds me of Charles Adams' face, the little kid in the window. That was on her birthday, I think, the Brooklyn Bridge. The American Dream. Harry's Laundry, Bleecker Street, my dear old neighborhood. Studio 54, Blondie Warhol. Kids, you can't do that anymore, ride on the buses like that, the back of buses. But that was a real New York kid thing. That was at the Feast of St. Anthony on my street, Sullivan. Oh, I love my pictures. Coexistence with love and squalor. There used to be neighborhood candy stores once upon a time. Boy, you know, I don't see this every day. You have to say that's a New York pigeon, all right. All kinds of traffic. The magical kingdom by the sea. That was one of my very, very first pictures, 66. Washington Square Park. Some guy playing off tune an accordion. Central Park Zoo. Over the dumpsters and into the trees. The Easter Bunny, gotta have the Easter Bunny. And here we got chairs, all kinds. Pre-gentrified Columbus between 81st and 82nd. Gumball machines, remember them? Rot your teeth. Is her face not perfect? Lord, central casting. This used to be a famous saloon on the corner of 42nd and at the Apple, Times Square. The Usual Suspects, The Happy Hitmen, The Disappearing Checker. What great cars they were. Harlem Playground. This was great. This was the corner of my street, and I see the guy, and it attracts me because the make of the truck is HUCK. And then there's a flag, and it's during Vietnam, and well, as you can see, left bank. So, and there was a guy, and then there was another guy came, and a few of the guys came from the Mills Hotel, and there it was, the picture. And that's why you cannot, that's why I love what happens on the street. You can't make this up. I mean, nah. Of course, there's people that spend the quant of a big budget movie to do this, but nothing like ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. No, sir. Here we got the only Howard Johnsons with strippers. And the entire country, think of that. Think of that. Her button says, "Get smart, get saved." A real hot dog. This was the poet Joel Oppenheimer and his kids at Commerce Street block party in the Village. Brown River rafting, Midtown, block party. Oh, and that's the West Side Highway. I love this. This was Delancey Street. Damn, these are nice. And here's things that are disappeared or disappearing, like the Checkers disappeared and Luchow's. This is my friend Tony and Ron on their wedding day. I think they were divorced a couple months later. It was a nice day, though. Cronies. See how the chimp is Italian, too. They're talking on the stove. The neighborhood. Me lie. 4 more years. You betcha, babe, never stops. Yeah, I've had somebody actually say, "What's me lie?" I wanted to smack them. Here are the Net Queens going home to Brooklyn. These used to be real New York cabbies. They were going. Look just like that. And it's got to be New York going out of business. Something's always going out of business. Then you got the sexual playmates. We got the Nympho Circus, Forbidden Desires. Look at these kids, and that's Santa going past. That ain't New York. Going out of business. I love it. Just think, a nympho circus. Where would you put the big nose? See those neighborhoods. OD with Spike. Listen and learn, kid. Look how gorgeous those kids are. It's amazing. Faces. Well, all I can do is dream about it now. And here's a residence on Wall Street. This is Wall Street. And this is really fresh seafood. I love this. This was Alphabet City. God, I knew it. Gorgeous big. Ugh. It was Avenue B block party. I noticed they took the bench away. How mean can they be? How mean-spirited to take that bench? Now it's just a pillar? That proves it's not New York. Look what that stands for. It's just so... I love this, so charming. This was a Roseland matinee. The pinky ring, the whole schmear. And we got Macy's Santa. Got the Easter Bunny and Macy's Santa. What a gorgeous spread. With the gun, yeah. I love it. It's such a lonely picture. Schaefer, that used to be the fireman's beer. But there's no more Schaefer. So now we drink that excuse for a big Budweiser. Well, they say you don't buy beer, you just rent it. But that stuff, you can't tell the difference. This is called Surf and Turf. Yeah, New York. You gotta lock it all down. Lock up your daughters. Again, Stofers, disappearing, going, gone. This is lunch at Tiffany's. This is a rose among thorns. She can dream. It's only a subway away. This was taken the year they built the second tower. This was not Tribeca, this was the butter and egg district. And 9/11, where we lost 343, boom, like that. One from every single department, in the job. I looked at that and I realized, oh God, 2 engines and the chief. And because of the 9 friggin' guys, we have to show our security at every damn building you walk into. What happened here? Anyway, Superman will fix it. Big business, little business. This is Washington Square. Love these kids. Studio 54. Yeah, where many a girl wasted a night on some guy who went home with another guy. Yeah, it was really glamorous. God, it's so New York, really. And the wine bottle. I wonder if it's Thunderbird. That must be it. Well, that's a small taste of what I'm going to have to edit down from. And we have Patriot Acts. I did this one night a few years ago. When I was angry, we probably had just droned another wedding or funeral. the drone executive-in-chief of the drones. I was really mad, and I just spent a night. I never did it with, played with a blur before, and I just did this book from pictures that I'd taken like through the years. And I realized I was so pissed about Bernie a few days ago, and all the cheating, and you could just see exactly how lousy. I mean, George Carlin had it exactly right, 10, 15 years ago. Everything he said was right on. And I realized I really want to finish this. And I've been writing stuff down and collecting quotes for years. And I've got to face now and find the pictures and put the words, find the words. But I really want to keep going. And I got to get me some tea parties, and I'm going to get the bastards. Anyway, here's my Patriot Acts. It's just kind of, well, it's just how I feel. And that is my patron Saint George of Carlin, of whom I speak. That is going to make some gorgeous print, boy. Home with honor. Huh. 73. Home with honor from Vietnam. It's a shame what they're allowed to do with the beautiful language. It reminds me of the guy in the wheelchair. A cop told me once, he said, a guy pulled a gun on me and misfired 5 times. He said, that's when I could feel the wings growing on my ass. And I look at that picture and I think, John, the cop. And then I got the Milad guys, there's your honor, and that happened every day, not just there. And it came from the top. It wasn't just the individual psychos, it came from the top. And I have a picture again of like a whole bunch of the sailors along the side to turn their backs on them as they go by. So this is going to be fun. Yeah. Yeah, he looks proud. And that, of course, is a Vietnam. Here we got young cannon fodder, and here we got used cannon fodder. Saddest face. That was at in San Francisco at a Veterans Against the War rally in '68. And that was in a village on 7th Avenue, forgotten by a grateful country. And there's the pigeon, just at the right moment, showing us how grateful the country is. Yeah. Oh, we got a dangerous enemy of the people there. The monument says, to our heroes. This guy's a first-class equivocator. The one on the right side, the compassion of small child. That's the Holocaust Memorial in Miami Beach. 1.5 million children were murdered, and those 1.5 million Jewish children are called the missing generation. And then, of course, we lost the 343 in an instant. Beach towels. That was Collins Avenue in Miami Beach. So anyway, it's a work in progress, and that's that one. Now, how much more time have we? That's a lot of pictures to take in.
Yeah.
Finished, right? Enough.
Maybe we can talk.
We can talk, right? I mean, you know, enough's enough, right?
Thank you, thank you.
Screw the strippers, right? Ha ha. Have I got a lap dance? Forget it. No, that's enough. All right, let's talk.
Thank You guys, we have time for Q&A. I'll pass around the mic. Doesn't make your voice louder, but please use it for the video.
Did I do it? Did that make an hour, like the 3 things?
Once we have some Q&A, it's perfect. Hard to beat.
Hey, and I was on time, too.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned 1990 as a year that New York changed for you. What happened in 1990 that it changed forever?
Oh, you know, you could see the changes coming. But the thing that happened for me was my rent was tripled. That'll do it. There used to be a Greenwich Village for a very, very long time that had all kinds of weirdos like me that came from all over because we wanted to be there. We wanted to be here. But the neighborhoods turned into real estate. And greed, like it took over the rest of the country, won. And now nothing works anymore. Because I truly believe, well, in '68 we lost our soul and we lost our heart in Vietnam. And we have not done anything about it, and we just keep going further and further down. So when I was young, we had endless summer, and now we have endless war. And a lot of people think that's just fine. That's dandy. So, but a lot of people have, like George pointed out years ago, they have their gadgets and their toys. You know, they have their phones that'll make them coffee and give them a good Jolly Rogering now and then, you know. So, I don't know. It's not the America we were taught to believe in. And when we pledged allegiance, there was no God in there. One nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. God came in '53 with McCarthy, Joseph McCarthy. So we've always had this, but unfortunately, see, the Brits were smart enough to kick out the Puritans, who then had to come over here. And we've been lumbered with their like ever since, which is a real drag. And then, of course, we had the potato famine. They came over. Then there were riots, and then they found jobs killing the Indians out west. I don't know what's the correct term, Native Americans, and indigenous, the people who already lived here when they discovered a new land. Well, they also had a few million people they got rid of. And a lot of the immigrants who just got off the boat, having left a country where there was a potato famine, went and killed the people who lived there already. Never learning a lesson about what England did to Ireland. So we don't learn, and consequences, we now have about 10 wars going. We got hawks and idiots running. We had one decent, honest man that comes around every 100 years, Bernie. And if they feck him out of that again, that's it. I'm with George. Screw it. As he said, the people that own this country don't care about you. He said a lot more, which is true. God, I'm really lecturing and hectoring. What a creep. Yeah, go ahead. You know, it's on my mind. I'm pissed off and I'm just really mad. So, plus it was Holocaust Memorial Day a few days ago, so it's been great. Especially when you talk to yourself and you're alone too much. So I've had a bonanza week. And you got me. Isn't it wonderful? All right, go ahead.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing all of your...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing all of your attitude and your you-ness with you, with your photographs. I keep coming back to that idea of the young aristocrat with the Save Our Sleaze poster, and I'm wondering, you know, New York's supposedly gotten cleaner and safer, but has it gotten better? Is there anything that's improved over the New York that you've documented for so many years?
Well, the buses used to run more than every 25 goddamn minutes, you know, and then there are 3 of them of number 3s in a row, or 4 4s, or, no, that's not better. And I believe it's only the major city with a subway that does not have escalators everywhere. Has it gotten better? Well, it's too crowded. You can't get in it anywhere. And it's crowded with rich fucks that aren't even spending any time here. And You know, New York Magazine in the 70s started outing hidden places. They find the secret restaurant and fuck that up. You know, so it's been going on a long time. And it had a cute name, this column, that outed anything that was good. So suddenly there's nothing but squares around the corner. Oh, and what is with people with cupcakes? What, they have their minds? Or we're in Indiana? What the fuck? Cupcakes, for God's sake. And I'll tell you, a lot of young people, they do not smoke as much marijuana as they should, and they don't drink enough. They're really friggin' boring. Not all of them, of course. And you don't have to do those things. I don't mean that. But you certainly ought to try. Come on, you're young. You know how boring you're going to be when you're getting old. Look at me. Take advantage. Start importing. I'll give you my number. I hear Humboldt's a good place to start.
Hi, Jill. Your earlier work where you're doing the documentation of the parades and the protests, were you working for a newspaper? Did you have a police pass?
No, see, I'd lived in Europe a few years. After college, I took a ship, my present. I said, send a diploma to my mother, that's who it's for. And I took a ship, she bought me a ticket and went to Israel first. 2 weeks on the ocean. Had I been a boy, I would have signed on. I never would have gotten off. I'd have been a merchant seaman and done all those dirty things that Jack London wrote and that they did in the books. I read The Call of the Wild when I was 10 and a half. My greatest joy, I had the library as a homeroom. And that book, I'm sure it affected my life, The Call of the Wild. Even Buck the sled dog. Mm-hmm. It was a wild that appealed to me. And then I ran out of money in Israel. I went to a kibbutz, worked in a kibbutz for a while because I wanted to learn Hebrew. But then I hooked up with a girl from California. We split and found a place in Jerusalem and over an art school. And then I had like 10 or 20 bucks left. And so we went to the only club in Israel that had a jazz piano player. And I sat in with him and he said, I sang with him, and the owner of the club said, you want a job? So I became a singer. And in college, we had a jazz group, piano, bass, tenor sax, and me. A couple dances and Pittsburgh steelworker bars, you know, all that kind of stuff. They didn't listen, you could do anything, it was great. I was very sophisticated, I drank rock and rye from my throat. If anybody's in the whiskey importing business, do let me know. That's another single malt. Lagavulin, if anybody has an uncle in the business while they're importing. Well, then I took a boat to Marseille and a train to Paris. I had the name of a joint in the left bank, and I knew 7 chords on the guitar. And so I got a gig there. And I would do 2 sets every night, and then jump into a cab, go to the right bank, and hear Bud Powell every night. Played with Kenny Clark, who I told him played too loud, because he always did. And I always thought that I would love Paris and like London. Paris was okay. I kept wondering what they were doing during the war. And then I went over to London for the Edinburgh Festival, down to, took a ferry over then down to London, and loved it and stayed there for 2 years. And I used to, I got a gig every 3 weeks on the BBC where it was live. You sit on a stool in the light, and I would close out the show. They'd say 3 minutes, a minute and a half, 4 minutes, and then me and my 7 chords, if I had the balls now. But I must have been very, very cute, is all I can say, because, please, 7 chords. And it wasn't jazz. I could hear riffs in my head, but it was good anyway. And I forget what the question was. Well, it has to do with photography. Oh, so when I came back, I came back the end of '64. I just love that. It doesn't look photoshopped, does it? God forbid, it's real. Anyway, I came back, I had a job for a couple of years, it didn't mean anything, and then I was really depressed, and I thought, I can't just live life like this. You go to eat, sleep, boom, go to bed. There has to be something. And I woke up one day, I wanted a camera, and I was very, very angry about Vietnam. I, like everybody, was Vietnam. I read both sides of it, and of course it was wrong. And then just one day I wanted a camera. And I don't know if it was before that or after that. I always had that picture in my mind, and I had it blown up of Gene Smith, the 2 GIs that found the baby on the island of Saipan, holding that baby. And plus, I had found Holocaust pictures from Life magazine that my parents had up in the attic. So I had to be about, I thought 7, but probably 9, because my life centered around softball. And so I used to go up every day after school. I would look at the pictures and cry, and then I'd go play softball. And then my parents discovered it after a long time and burned the magazines. But I'm sure those pictures and that Smith picture probably had a lot to do with me wanting a camera. Plus, I was very angry about the war, because I saw ourselves, and as I refused to be a good German, and the people who are silent are as complicit. And I feel that way today. Everything we do, that we are the bullies of the world, and it's kind of getting me crazy. So it really is. It just, anyway, everybody gets a shot at being a Nazi. And this was a republic, now it's an empire. All empires fall. So we're probably witnessing that. Should be some good pictures. As George Carlin would say, should be a few laughs. You sit on the side, you laugh. People kill each other. That's good. He liked that. It was fun. It was entertainment. And so is New York any better than it was? I think not, because you can't afford to go anywhere. Who would pay that kind of dough for a theater ticket? You used to get free dinners. Well, no, not when cocaine came in, but this was a city I loved. And I'm trying to figure where I want to be now. Time to get to a beach again. Eat my way around Italy, south of France.
Jill, when you first started out, you taught yourself photography. Is that correct?
I did.
And did you have any significant friendships in the industry or other photographers that mentored you, or how did you?
No, my
learn
only
craft?
teacher was my dog. My dog. When you go with a dog, just look at a dog. He sees everything. He misses nothing. You could have a block where you walked 100 times, and suddenly there's a doorway you didn't see before. But your dog. So I always consider him my photography teacher. And then I taught myself printing by, it's insane, but Kodak had a series of dollar books. And when I borrowed that camera, I went right out in the street and realized I've been taking pictures in my head those years I lived in Europe, because I used to sing, so the rest of the time I would just wander around and look at stuff and want to be invisible. I used to wish that I had that invisible cloak, which I think photography is for me. What did you ask? He was afraid I wouldn't talk. See, I would just show.
I was just wondering if you had any close friendships with other photographers.
When Grossman said he would publish my first book, Old News, Resurrection City, the Poor People's Campaign, which was, it was human rights, and I knew it would be the last big nonviolent demonstration. One day in '68, I'm in a park. There's a guy with a straw hat and a mule. Maybe I'm embellishing if he'd had a straw, hazy. I mean, where is he going to get straw up in the park? But, hay. But he was talking about how we're going to Washington, and we're going to be out there. And, it was Dr. King's last dream, and I thought, man, he was good. And he had his guitar, and he sang those great movement songs. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. All those great songs. I thought, man, whatever is going on, I got to be there. this I got to see. And I went and I quit my job, which is really stupid. I was a Dole Dane Burnback. We were the best. And they all spun out from us. We. I'm always we. Anyway, I probably don't exist really. I'm we. I said, today I quit. I'm a photographer. They loved me. They would have fired me. I would have an unemployment, but no, always the grand gesture. See, I was really meant to be a great British character actress on Masterpiece Theatre. They work all the time. But I fucked up. What can I tell you? I forget what I was talking about. It's not good not having a drink. You can't think straight.
We'll know next time.
Yes, vodka on the rocks. Bruno Kappa knew. He gave me a water glass full, but it wasn't water. Halfway through, I was terrific.
All right. Thank you so much. Jill Freedman, come back and...
Thanks for looking at my stuff. And it was beautiful. They were great, great people. And then my second book, Firehouse. I used to drink at the Lion's Head, a pub in the village, and every now and then a fireman would come in, and I read his book and thought that would be a great book on firemen, whatever, you know, that would be a great story. So I got permission to write, and I just, women weren't allowed in the firehouse after 10 o'clock at night, so I just stayed in the back seat of the chief's car on the apparatus floor between the engine and the truck, because before that I would come and go from the village up to the South Bronx, Harlem. They said, you should have been here 5 minutes before, 10 minutes after. So I thought, screw it, I just moved into the car and I was there. So I shot this in Harlem and the South Bronx when the Bronx was burning. So this was published in '77, shot in '75 and '6. Great, great, great men. And they cooked. Oh, when you have an Italian in the kitchen. And they didn't let me do a thing in the kitchen. It was wonderful. Just like my boyfriends, I trained them early. Burn things. Oh, I don't know what went wrong.
In my pictures, if no one else had liked them, it wouldn't have mattered. I loved them. Sometimes I'd look at them and think, what if I wake up one day and it's gone? What if it goes away like it came? Jill, we are so honored to have you here tonight. Welcome to our lecture series.
Thank you so much. Do I just talk like this, or am I supposed to use this mic too? Or?
I'll get it closer to you. I'll get it closer.
Okay. Hello. Thanks for coming. We had to turn a lot of people away. You're very lucky you're here. I'm not kidding, man. And they want their money back. They have some balls, I would say. Okay, I have a whole lot of pictures, and I wanted to start off with something. This was put together, and I found it, to my surprise, on the internet by Getty Images, which has some of my pictures in their premium archive for editorial use only. No fur and no tobacco. Weed is okay, but, and they put this together, and well, you can look at it one by one, because the point is I'm supposed to talk a lot, but I think this will be terrific. I followed it. So these are my guys, firefighters. Most dangerous profession. There was women allowed on the job, and I photographed this for New York Magazine. They used that as a cover. And then, when I was finished, I would hear sirens and think, what am I missing? People say, do cops next? And I said, get out of here, I hate cops. You know, Vietnam, and I was very much against the war, which is why I started shooting. Then I thought, wait, that's not intelligent. You don't know any cops. You know, if you knew them and hated them, fair enough. And I thought, man, that'd be a good story. I've never seen a book about the good cops. You only hear about the bums, you know, Prince of the City, Serpico. I thought that'd be, and be a great story also about a city and how it doesn't work for most of its citizens. And so I had 2 precincts, 9th Precinct, which was Alphabet City, pre-gentrified, and Midtown South, which was 42nd Street, pre-Disneyfied. And I thought, whatever is real life, this is as close as you get. Bar fight, 4 o'clock, Avenue C, want to get in the picture. Jersey driver, obviously. Jobs always on the 5th floor. He froze to death, and just as like a slideshow. So I thought that I would start off with that and then show you 2 things I'm working on currently now that I want to be in my next book. One is Manhattan, which was New York from 66 to 90, when there were neighborhoods and not just real estate, when it was New York. And Patriot Acts, which is something else. So anyway, let's get started. This is like an overview of different things I've done. And I'll just call out like from the different stories. But mainly I think the pictures will speak for themselves. And every woman here knows this one, old kissy face. Yes, we love that sound, don't we? So this is the Poor People's Campaign in Washington in 1968, when they murdered Dr. Martin Luther King. Exactly a year to the day he made a speech at Riverside Church, where he stopped talking about black and white and talked about rich and poor and how wrong Vietnam was. So they got rid of him, and this was his last project, his dream of the Poor People's Campaign, right next to the reflecting pond between Lincoln and the Washington Memorial. A week to march down. We lived in plywood shacks for 6 weeks. Brenda, my favorite kid, and went out and demonstrated every day.
Hello and welcome to the I3 lecture series hosted by the Masters in Digital Photography program at the School of Visual Arts. We are thrilled to welcome Jill Freedman, an icon of street and documentary photography, as tonight's guest speaker. Throughout her very prolific career, Jill has published 7 monographs: Old News, Resurrection City, Circus Days, Firehouse, Street Cops, A Time That Was, Irish Moments, Jill's Dogs, and Ireland Ever. Her photographs have been exhibited and published worldwide. Her work is included in the permanent collections of the Museum of Modern Art, the International Center of Photography, George Eastman House, the Smithsonian American Art Museum, the New York Public Library, the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, the Bibliothèque Nationale Paris. I'd like to share with you a short excerpt from Jill's essay, The Joy of Photography, which I find particularly beautiful. It says, I am self-taught. I got a copywriting job to support myself, and I started learning, devouring books and looking at good work, walking a lot and shooting. Those early years were fired with an intensity and passion I had never felt before. I was obsessed and driven. I thought about photography all of the time.